So let's say that nonprofit decided to do fundraising through NFT sales. Then they would have an automatic
exactly yes
base of money.
So basically they would say the DAO would own the NFT first. Every time we want to sell an NFT, or we would allow people to bid for NFTs, I don't know what's the right mechanism, but the money would go into the DAO contract. And now basically it's not like your wallet or my wallet or somebody else's wallet. It's like literally the DAO's contract. And then now all of the collective co-owners of the DAO, I don't know how it's represented, will vote on what to do with the funds on that contract.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And just a side note, I was one of those people in 1996. I was in college. No, my professor was like, we're going to use this new thing called email, and your homework assignments will be emailed to you. And I was like, no.
What is this?
So I went to the computer lab and I had to enter through MS-DOS and Unix. And I was like, no, just give me the piece of paper. And I almost failed the class because I refused to do the homework or email.
Well, it's good that you eventually did learn this, because otherwise today you would be pretty much screwed, right? But but again, like that reaction was like, oh, I think normal in the sense that this is scary, right? This is a new space.
Yes.
But what I tell people, and I was actually just on a call earlier with the Guardian people, was like, it is scary, but you need to embrace it, because if you embrace it when it's like 5-10 years down the line, you're going to be like, oh, it doesn't work the way I want it to work. It's like, well, too late. You were not here when we built it, basically. So that's why I tell people, like, yes, it's scary. Yes, it's weird. Yes, it's hard. But if you join now, you can set the culture. You can set the patterns, the ways to use these things. You can't come 5 or 10 years from now and say, hey, I want this to work differently. This is too late. People have built it. So that's now that you need to print your emails, not print your emails actually, but actually do the thing of the effort of learning. And that's what I tell people, like, yes, scary, weird, but there is no way around. If you wait, it's not going to work the way you want it to work 5 or 10 years from now. And I think it's true for the web. Like, we're all frustrated with like the Facebook things, the ads, or it's like, we were not here when they built it. So I guess it's too late. If we had showed up 10 years ago or 20 years ago and say, hey, I want this to work in a different way, then maybe we would have had a chance to actually make it work the way we want it to work now.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It gives me hope to see so many people working on these big level theories and concepts and then bringing them to life. Like that definitely.
And that's the thing that, yes, I'm definitely excited about this. And the thing that a bit worries me sometimes, like when I see some people that I would generally tend to agree with say, oh, I don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. It's like, you're literally preventing yourself from having a constructive participation in that ecosystem. And it's going to be, I'm not going to accept that 3 years from now you say, hey, it doesn't work the way I want it to work. Like, wait. You had the chance. You are, not you, but that person, you were smart. You had ideas, and then you just said, I don't want to touch the 10-foot pole. You don't have the right to show up again 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and say, hey, it doesn't work the way it should. Like, you were here. You had the opportunity. You didn't take it on purpose. So there's no reason why you would be able to now change how things work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why we have all these platforms like Discord and Discourse, and for all their faults, they provide that channel to be part of that conversation.
Exactly.
Nice. I think that's it. I think we touched on all of it.
Cool.
So, yay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Honestly, it's not that complicated. That's the thing I tell people all the time. I know it sounds like privileged man saying, "Oh, this is so easy," and everything, but it is not that complicated. Like, it's, learning math when you're 6 or 8. My daughter is learning right now. It's like, it's complicated. It's like, no, it's not. I know it's not. You're not familiar with this, but it's. And again, not everybody has, but like the vast majority of kids, I don't know, it's like 80 or whatever, have the ability to learn these things. And if she is in the public system it means that she can learn these things. And it's the same with like the DAO stuff. It's like, sounds weird, but if you have a computer and a mouse and 2 hours of your time ahead of you, I think you can learn, not you, but like anyone can learn this art pretty quickly. It's not that people say, oh, but it's different. That's the thing. It's different, and different doesn't mean hard. Different means I'm not used to this. If I get used to this, then it's going to become obvious and not different anymore.
Yeah.
To me, that's the thing that we often take. Is like something simple is like not simple. It's just like we're used to this, and something that is hard is not hard. It's just like we're not used to this.
Yeah, and I think too, people trying to wrap their brain around what a trustless system really is. Like we're so used to that human element that now we have a human. Now we have this intersection of humanity and technology. It's understanding that the two coexist now in a different fashion than they used to.
Yes, and I think a lot of people don't like, there's a quote by Steve Jobs, like something like his life changed once he realized that everything around himself was done by people that were no smarter than him, basically. And I think that's, it sounds arrogant in some way, but I think that's actually true. A lot of people do things, figure things out as they do them. They don't necessarily spend, the guy who designed, my chair, I'm sure some people spend something, it's a pretty cool chair. It's not a very expensive chair, but like a lot of things around us is like people just like had to solve this. They just solved it the way it made sense to solve it. And they didn't necessarily have, 5 PhDs and like do it. Oftentimes you feel like you just have to do things. And in the end, that works. So I'm going to just use this. And I think it's true for a lot of the ecosystem here. We should stop trying to get somebody else to do that thing for us, because that other person is no smarter than you are. Like honestly, when people say, "Hey," it's like, "I don't know." Like people are like, "Really, you don't know?" Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just like a normal random French guy trying to figure things out. But it's, if you make the effort of like not expecting somebody else to do something for you and say, "Hey, you know what? I'll do it myself," or "I'll try to do it myself," then you're going to be very quickly at the same or even above level of understanding how things work than I am. And that's something that I hope people realize. Like in the community, there's a lot of people like, "Hey, Joe, what do you think? I don't think of this. I have no idea. I'm just, again, I'm no smarter than you are. I know nothing about these things." And I wish people would understand this more and be able to say that for once, we actually have the ability to have things that we can actually do without having somebody else's permission or enablement in that way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the more that this language becomes more mainstream and people make it their own.
Yeah.
I mean, there were crypto punks in Times Square yesterday, and I was sending pictures to my friends who have no idea what this is. I'm like, dude, and the U.S. Postal Service just made an NFT out of stamps.
Yeah. This is becoming, I don't want to say mainstream, but this is becoming a new normal very quickly, and it's good. And so again, embrace it now, because if you show up 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and say, "Doesn't work the way I wanted it to work," it's like, well, where were you during the building phase? We talked about Trump, but it's the same. Like I was kind of frustrated by seeing a lot of people say, "Oh, like he's a bad president, blah blah." It's like, did you vote? Like I didn't, because our emails. It's like, what the fuck? Like if you don't vote, you don't. I don't say you don't get to open your mouth, because sometimes you don't know what's going to happen for real. But like, if you don't vote, you better be very careful about what you say and how you complain about things, because there is a bunch of things that you knew or a lot of people knew would happen, and yet you didn't show up because of our emails. It's like, feels to me like this is very hypocritical. Anyway, a lot of hypocrisy.
Yes. Yeah, and we saw it again last night.
And we're going to see it over and over. In like people who complain about the blockchain stuff, like, "Oh, it doesn't do," it's like, it's open, you can build it. Like nobody prevents you. So if it doesn't work the way you want it to work, just get to work or just shut up. It feels like it's too easy to just complain about things when you can actually change them and not change them.
Yeah.
Like, well,
And I think too, I'm hope that it's starting to sink in that people, because Web3 is so different, because it is accessible, it's open, it is new, but people can actually, where, in the past they would have to, deal with something centralized like a Facebook and a Twitter.
In terms of service, now, and there's like stuff that they're binding. Now it's getting more and more open, and but I still see smart people saying, "Nope, doesn't work the way I was." Like, come on, it's open. Here's the source code. Just make it work the way you want it to work. Or if you don't think it should work, just don't. If you don't want to make the effort, then just shut up. It's not like you can't change this.
Yeah.